All right, good afternoon. Today is May 27th, 2026. The Dow closed at 50,644, new all-time highs, up about 183 points or 1/3%. The S&P 500 finished at 7,520. Yeah, didn't really go anywhere. Technically a closing record, but you really need to bring out a magnifying glass just to see it. The Nasdaq also closed relatively flat. The Russell 2000 also closing relatively flat. And that pretty much tells you how today went. It was pretty much a Dow component day. The other three indices practically went nowhere. And the reason why tells you everything about today's session. Yesterday, the main story was Micron, which dragged up chip names and the whole market higher. Today, those same names pretty much gave it all back. If we look at the heat map here, we can see that Nvidia lost 1%, AMD lost over 1%. The Philadelphia Semiconductor Index was pretty much a sell-off today. We almost got that full gap fill on the SOX L, and yeah, it was pretty brutal stuff out there. You know, even Qualcomm was down 6% on the session. And after the run semis have had this year, sellers definitely showed up today, and they weren't really polite about it, but they did catch a little bit of a bid later on in the session. So, what replaced them? Yeah, pretty much the consumer cyclicals and consumer defensive names, both up over 1%. Well, consumer cyclicals up about 1.5%, consumer defensives up right at about 0.9%. And yeah, these are Dow components, and it's loaded with such names such as Procter and Gamble, up over 3% today. Nike was having a pretty solid day, up 2%. Home Depot up 2.3%. Coca-Cola had a pretty good day today, up nearly 1.5%. So money moved out of some of those volatile chip names and into steady earners such as some of these defensives. And it was just a classic defensive rotation today. And that's pretty much why the Dow set a new record while the Nasdaq and the S&P did absolutely nothing. The Dow is price weighted, meaning that it's the meaning the highest stock price moves the index most. The Nasdaq is cap weighted, meaning that the biggest companies by market value move it the most. The Dow is stacked with consumer names. The Nasdaq is obviously stacked with semiconductors and big tech names. Today, those two worlds pretty much went in opposite directions. As far as the winners, I already mentioned them: Procter & Gamble, Nike, Home Depot, Caterpillar. They all pushed the Dow higher. 22 of the 30 Dow components actually closed in the green today. And as you can see here on the Diamonds ETF, we did eke out a new all-time high and then kind of made our way lower, but still closing above that 505 level. So everything's looking pretty good here on the Dow side. Financials, though, took a little bit of a hit, especially JPMorgan down about 2.5%. And that was one of the worst in the Dow. Jamie Dimon told the Bernstein conference that 2026 expenses will come in around 106 billion, and that was more than what they estimated back in April. He basically said it's driven by better than expected trading and fee revenue. So a lot more people are, trading and all that, and more businesses, more spending, but the market heard higher expenses and it pretty much sold off. He also said that the bank is hunting for a deal up to 20 billion over the next 2 years. Nvidia was definitely the interesting one, lost about 1% today, still defending that 212.19 level that I've been talking about for the past week and a half, going into earnings and then after earnings. Chevron dropped 1.25% as oil catered. Salesforce had a pretty interesting day, slightly heading into its after hours report. And as you can see, post market is trading at 174.11, so it's still lower after the report. But yeah, pretty interesting stuff. Let's go into crude oil, because crude oil was definitely a major situation today, and that was yeah, it's the major macro story today. WTI, that's the U.S. oil benchmark, plunged about 6%. Let me see if it will pull it up here on. Is it this one? Yeah, plunged about 4%. I guess you can just use crude oil futures. And it's down to about 88.32 right now. Dropped to, well, the benchmark dropped 5% to under $95 a barrel. So here's what happened. You got the Iranian state media reporting that Tehran is committed to restoring commercial shipping through the Strait of Hormuz to pre-conflict levels within 1 month. The Strait of Hormuz normally handles about 20% of global oil and LNG supply, and it's been largely shut down since the conflict started. 2 super tankers actually crossed the strait yesterday for the first time in like a week, and now the White House separately called an Iranian report of a draft peace deal a complete fabrication. So there's still a gap between what Tehran is saying and what Washington is confirming. It's a lot of back and forth. The market is still trying to play that balancing act, but the oil market traded the headline and it traded it hard. Oil was down. It's down 16% this month, and that's a big reversal off the March and April spike. But let's go ahead and talk about tomorrow. Tomorrow we do have PCE in the morning at 8:30 a.m. PCE stands for Personal Consumption Expenditures, and it's the inflation number that the Fed actually watches. March came in at 3.5%. with 3.2% on the core year over year. Both is still well above that 2% target. Wall Street is expecting April to come in hotter, somewhere around that 3.7% headline, maybe 3.4% on the core. And a lot of that is just from the energy shock from the Iran conflict bleeding into the data. And this is the last big inflation read before the next FOMC meeting on June 16th and June 17th. And it's going to be the first one under the new Fed chair, Kevin Warsh. And markets right now are pricing in 0 rate cuts for 2026. So a hot number is going to pretty much confirm that. A cooler than expected print, I'd be surprised given the oil backdrop. And that would be the kind of thing that moves bonds and stocks in a hurry. If you got positions on, just know your levels before that 8:30 print. Let's go ahead and move on to today's price action. The SPY and the QQQ practically did the same thing. We went absolutely nowhere, and it was a tricky day for myself because I got chopped up. I mean, you saw it in the Discord where I took a short right about where was it? It was about right here, and we started to drop below this level, and I was looking for this 748.01. They reversed it back. I did like average down, and then I ultimately got stopped out, so that was just a pretty crappy trade. And the main thing here is that we were pretty much trading level to level. We gapped up here, we sold off down to this level here, bounced back up, came back down to the value area low, bounced back up, undercut it a little bit, and from there we zoomed back up, and then we got another sell-off, and it was just a lot of back and forth, a lot of chop. So if you're a range trader, you did probably pretty darn well. I still called a few wins, but that's pretty much the nature of the beast today. But tight range overall today. We do got a little bit of a D shape here on the volume profile, with the point of control being at 750.35. Pretty much nobody won between the SPY and the QQQ. We're sitting in tight ranges where the last 2 days and the value areas are stacking right on top of each other. Value area, by the way, is where 70% of the day's volume traded. And when those overlap 2 days in a row, like we've had, like between this big zone here, this is nothing but compression, and prices is coiling within this range. And which way is it going to go? It could go either way. I mean, we did get a little bit of a decent close considering we closed up here at the highs. If we do get a break over 751, that could open the door for 751.50, followed by 752. Above 752 is clean air, like we talked about yesterday. If we do start to break down below, it was about 748.20, 620, 748. That does open the door to 740, 726, and then we get a gap fill all the way down to 745.87. I imagine we do get some pretty big move here on the PCE. If we go to the Qs, like I said, it was pretty much a similar beast here. We went absolutely nowhere kind of quickly, just a lot of chop in the zone. Yeah, and then we closed at the highs right here. So still trading well within the value areas from yesterday. Prices compressing and coiling. We'll probably get a move tomorrow. If we do get a breakout above about 730.60, then we could look for a push back up into the 733, and then above that is clear blue skies. If we do get a move below 727.15, we could retest these lows down about 725.60, where they stepped up and defended today. Big money did not want this to fall completely through the gap from the Tuesday's open, but if we do start to fall, then we do have targets down here at about 721.17. So that's going to be pretty much the game plan for tomorrow. Let's see where that PCE print comes in. Obviously, we're looking for a little bit of a hotter PCE with the higher energy costs and all that. So be on the lookout for that. Going to be taking a look at the Salesforce reaction in a minute. But yeah, I hope this helped, and I hope this helps you prepare for tomorrow. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe. Let me know what you're looking at for tomorrow, and I will see you all tomorrow. All right, guys, take care.